Okay, so you're going to learn two different methods how to graph with phase shift. So, which means you're in this format. No more baby stuff, right? No more baby stuff. No more baby stuff like this. Oh, so cute, right? These are your pros at graphing these. You don't have to do much for these, right? You can just kind of like know what it should look like, and then that helps you guide it. But now what if you have ones with a phase shift or a vertical shift, right? I'm going to write it in the actual format that is the best to recognize phase shift and vertical shifts, right? Oh, sorry, this is supposed to be a D, right? Sorry about that. Or y equals a cosine B. You notice that I always factor out the B because it's nice to know when the phase shift, or it's nice to know the frequency explicitly. All right, so we're going to graph this guy. After this video, you're going to watch another video that actually shows a different technique. I think it's more common to do it the other way, but I like this method, and I'll show you how I do it, okay? All right, so first thing first, let's take a look at this equation carefully. Okay, look at it. Have an idea. Okay, have an idea. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually sketch this sucker. You're like, wait, it's a negative sine graph? That means it starts at the mid, but it goes down first. Let's have a sketch first. Excellent. Okay, it's not a, even if it's not an official step, you're right, that's step 0. Okay, let's step 1. Rewrite the equation, step 1. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to write step 1. Again, it looks like it's a lot of work, but it's actually not. Okay, step 1. Let's rewrite. Y equals rewrite. If it's already in the best format possible, that's great, but I'm going to rewrite this sucker, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it as y equals -2 sine. I'm going to pull out my b. My b is the value that's in front of the x. And then I get x minus pi over 4 plus 1, okay? That's my first step. All right. Woo! First step down, okay? Second step. Step 2. Step 2 is doing your peanut butter, a peanut butter thing. But you're going to do the ps and ps. You'll see what I mean, okay? A peanut butter thing, okay? And you're going to do VS and PS. You'll see what all this is, okay? All right, you're used to doing this, just kind of identifying things, right? What's your amplitude? Your amplitude is absolute value of -2, which is 2. What's your period? Well, I need to know my B. My B is 1. My period is 2 pi over b, which in this case is just 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. Again, I'm writing a lot of extra work, but you don't need to write all this work, okay? Just don't make any errors. If you do, I'm going to be like, well, then you should write everything, okay? What's your D? Now, a couple of things. Compared to these here, this is different because you have your A, your B is, your A is here, your B is here, X minus B over C is here, and this is your 1, which is your D. This here is your phase shift. Phase shift, horizontal. This guy here is your VS, your vertical shift. Okay, your vertical. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, so with that in mind, what's your D? What's your D? Your D is, your D is 1. Okay, it went up 1. Your graph went up 1. So every amplitude that, or every maximum or minimum that you calculate, you have to consider that it started at 1 higher than 0, okay? What's the vertical shift? Well, if the vertical shift is up 1, I'm going to write it as up 1. Phase shift, that's a tricky one, but before we sum this guy up, let's write the midline then. Well, if it shifted up 1, that means midline must be y equals 1. Whatever the D value is, it's y equals D. Psst, psst. Phase shift. How much did it shift to the right or the left? Well, the standard or the STD is, it's minus, right? So you know if it moves to the right, it retains its positivity, therefore this doesn't change. So that means it went, so on our case, I know you know all this because of algebra 2, you had so many functions that had transformations, right? So x minus pi over 4, it means it moved to the right pi over 4 amount. The graph got shifted to the right, pi over 4. And I'm going to now go ahead and box this up. This is really important information here, step 2. Okay? All right, step 3 is a little bit strange, but you're going to get it, okay? Step 3, you might be like, what the factor? That's really weird. But remember, we're looking for our 5 critical points, right? Remember how when we graph this, we always need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. But we need to know a lot of things, like how evenly are they distributed, right? What's the distance from here to here, right? And it should be clear from here. But how do we make it even better with the shifts? And that's what I'm going to do for step 3. So I'm going to go to step 3 here. And this is kind of like my own technique. So you don't totally have to do it this way if you don't want to, okay? You can use the next step, if you want to. Now, I'm going to write something here. You're always going to go 0 is less than or equal to whatever the x minus c over b is and my period. That means what's the period for this particular function? Okay, and x minus c over b is this right here. So I'm going to write that 0 is less than or equal to x minus pi over 4. My period for this graph was 2 pi. So it's 2 pi here. Now, see if you understand that part and ask me if you don't. Now, before I stop you, what are we doing right now? We're trying to figure out what we're doing here is this. I'll label this step. This step is called start. End. Where do I start graphing my graph and what coordinate do I stop? That's what we're trying to calculate here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve this inequality. I'm going to add pi over 4 to both left and the right side. So I get pi over 4 less than or equal to x is less than or equal to. Well, I need the common denominator, but I know that 2 pi over 1 is the same thing as 8 pi over 4, which is going to be 9 pi over 4. Because I added pi over 4 to both sides. I added pi over 4 to here, and I got this. And here is my start. My graph starts here. My graph ends here. I want to ask you a question. What should be the equation between here and here? Ding, 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 ding! If you said 8 pi over 4, you'd be right, because 8 pi over 4 is 2 pi, and that's the exact distance between the start and the end for one cycle of this particular graph. Excellent work. Okay? All right, that's step 3. Woo! We're moving right along. Step 4. Step 4. Here we go. Step 4 is I call this interval slash CP, which is my 5 critical points. Okay? So we're going to do that. I need my 5 critical points, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first calculate my interval. Interval is always this. It's always going to be my period, whatever it was for this particular graph, divided by 4. And you'll see why it's 4. So interval is equal to, my period was 2 pi. I divide that into 4 pieces. It's either going to be pi over 2 or 2 pi over 4, whatever is conducive to the situation. Okay, here we go. I hope this is you're understanding this, but if you don't, I'm here to help you, right? So here are my critical points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, I'm looking for critical points. My critical points are going to represent this, and these. These 5 critical points, okay? So I'm trying to look for that. All right, my start. You know my start, right? And you know my end. What's my start? It's right here. So start there. Pi over 4. 9 pi over 4. All right, but remember, why did we do this interval? It's telling you how much you should add every time. So you don't have to calculate as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 pi over 4 to everything. 2 pi over 4 to make my life easier. It's going to be 3 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4. Oh my God, miracle! 7 pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 is 9 pi over 4. Okay? So that's how it should end up. That means I have all my critical points here. So let's see what that looks like in a graph. We're almost done. Oh, you know what we should do, you guys? Check this out. Let's actually write the critical points. Pi over 4. 3 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4. The actual coordinates, right? 9 pi over 4. Okay, what are the y values? Well, we know for sure that it starts at the mid. Well, what's the mid? What's the midline for this graph? Y equals 1, right? So you know what we're going to do? Let's go to the graph. You see this graph? I always kind of cheat. Y equals 1. I make that line be y equals 1. Well, what's the amplitude? amplitude is 2. That means I just need to go up or down 2, right? So let's label it 2, 3, 4. 0, -1, -2. Let's start graphing. Well, not yet, okay? But you know how sign graph, we always start at the mid? So you know it's going to go, this is going to be a 1. Do you know why this is going to be a 1? Nudge a neighbor next to you or ask me. Because it always starts at the midline, right? This graph, the sign graph. Where does it go? This case, it's a negative sign graph, right? So you know it goes down first. What's the minimum? If I start at 1 and I go up or down 2, what's the minimum? It's going to go down to -2. Oh, sorry, -1. Does that make sense? Why it's -1? Because 1, the midline, I go down 2, so it's -1. And I go back to the mid, right? This is the minimum. This is the mid. This is also the mid. And it goes up to the max. Well, I start at 1, but the amplitude is 2, so I know I go to 3. And then I go back to mid, which is going to be 1. So we just graph these. Doesn't this make your graphing much easier? So how do I make this grid, right? Easy peasy. You go ding, 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 ding. That's 5. 5 critical points. Pi over 4. And if you want, you guys, let's make it a little bit more spacious, okay? I'm going to go ding, 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 ding. Pi over 4. 3 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4. 7 pi over 4. And 9 pi over 4. It makes your life much easier. Are you ready for this? Ding, ding. Oh, sorry. I forgot that we already plotted it. 3 pi over 4 is -1. Back to mid, max, and mid. And here's what I do. I trace that sucker. And then I keep on. Hey, sorry about the abrupt ending there, okay? So we have our first cycle, which we used to graph using our critical points that we actually calculated, right? But what if we want to do at least 2 cycles? One cycle that's on the positive side and maybe to the left, right? So what are we going to do? Well, we know that it grows every 2 pi over 4, right? Every 2 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4. So we know that pi over 4 minus 2 pi over 4 is -1 pi over 4, so it'll be here, right? But we know that this guy was a mid. That means it goes back to the max here, and then it goes to the mid again, min, right? Min. It goes to the mid, and then it goes back to max. So let's actually trace that and continue it nicely. Oh, sorry. So mid. Oh my God, what is this? What is this? Sorry, keep screwing up there. So wait, mid. So it went to the max, right? Because it was this guy. It's this guy that makes the period, right? So I know it's a little awkward here just because my graph is not actually spaced out evenly. Min, and then back to min, okay? And here's our graph there. There's another cycle. It's a little ugly here. Don't hate me, okay? It's a little, I'm sure yours is much prettier, okay? Much prettier, okay? And then it's going to go on. Now, if I said only 2 cycles, this is 2 cycles. So ugly, so I'm going to trace it again. Please don't show anybody this graph. It's very ugly. Okay, and here's how it continues. And this will go on forever, right? Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so, but you only have to label 5 critical points. So I want you to take, if this is a test, I want you to either tell me these 5 critical points, okay, or these 5 critical points, okay? That's how you graph that. Okay, now watch the next video to see if you can actually, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to highlight the main 1 cycle there. Okay, sorry about this ugliness right here, okay? It really bothers me, but I'll fix it later, okay? I'm going to provide you the transcription of these notes, okay? So make sure you look at the transcription as well. It looks a little bit prettier, okay? Okay, watch the next video for the next technique. Maybe you'll like that better, okay? Have a good night. Bye.